Hello and welcome back to Suspended Fanimation. I'm your host, Dennis Batholkis, and this is Preacher, Season 4, Episode 6, The Lost Apostle. Welcome, everybody. Hopefully everyone's enjoying their Labor Day weekend and, watching some TV or going out and doing stuff, whatnot. Excuse me. I am moving stuff around there on my desktop. So let's get some business out of the way first. Hey, everybody. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. You can hit the dislike button. I just asked you to go down in the comment section. Tell me what it is, what you don't like about the show. Give me some constructive criticism, some feedback, if you will. If you want to see when I'm be on live again next, you can hit the bell down below. If you've already hit the bell, don't hit it again. It will unclick. And you can go into the bell settings and get as many or as little notifications as you want. You can also, excuse me, take a look at my schedule up on suspendedfanimation.com. It's also mirrored on my Facebook page, and I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon page, but I don't have any tiers set up as of yet. So there we go. And hello, everybody, once again. So before I get started, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the episode. If you have not seen the episode, go and watch the episode. Come on back. This will be a video. You can comment down below in the comment section. Thank you, Viking Bitch, for the paddle. All right. So hopefully people are avoiding the storm the hurricane that's going out there. Start the Popeyes chicken sandwich review. Actually, I'm all for the Popeyes chicken sandwich, Joe. All I can say was a mighty fucking tasting chicken sandwich. I've had one Chick-fil-A sandwich in my lifetime, and that was a overpriced piece of shit. That's all I'm going to say. There you go. Yeah. No, you cannot win a prize for hitting the dislike button, David. Yeah, they're sold out everywhere, Penn Farm Girl. So all those Popeyes chicken sandwiches are all sold out. So there you go. They're getting a new distributor, from what I understand, and they're going to be starting up again. Who knows when? So yeah. Yes, I agree with you, Neri. This whole season's been underwhelming. There's actually a line in here that Jesse says that I put a little parentheses in there about how the whole season's going, and I'll get to that in a sec. So let's get started here. So we see Abraham is taking his son out to go and stab him because, of course, from the Bible, if those of you who have followed it or read it or heard the story at some point in time, that Abraham is supposed to take his only son out and sacrifice him because God told him to. And just about to stab him, God intervenes and tells him that it was all a test, that he passed. And Abraham says, that he loves him so, so much and, to God, and he's hugging him. And then we see the tape rewind, and the same thing happens, telling God that he loves him so much, and keeps rewinding to that one spot. And we see God sitting in his trailer, actually rewinding this. And it's also his workshop as well. And he's in his bathrobe, and he calls up Hairstar and says to start phase 2. And God asks how Humperdoo's doing. It's his favorite, of course. And Hairstar lies and says, you know what? He's out. He's fine. He's having his feet waxed for the big day. Otherwise, he'd be here on the phone. I can, I'd have him here with you. And, God's like, all right, great. And he hangs up, and Hairstar gives the call to start phase 2, of course. So then we see in New Zealand, a black van shows up, and it's got the Australian symbol on the outside of the car there, and the New Zealanders are kind of pissed off, that the Aussies are there, and these guys have their guns out, and the car kind of swings around, and the guards are shooting at this Australian car, and out drops the crate. This is the crate that actually has the New Zealander prime minister's body in it from when he got exploded back in like episode 2, somewhere around there. Exploded. And they open it up. They find out it's the remains of the deputy prime minister, and they're pissed. So we see God tinkering with a nuclear bomb, a little miniature of it in his workshop, like everything else that, he's been moving around like little chess pieces on his workshop there. And so obviously we know the nuke is coming at some point in time. Tulip and Cass, in the meantime, are just ripping through the streets of Melbourne. They pull up to the police station in Melbourne, ask who's in charge, who, of course, is the commissioner. And they're told that they want to see the commissioner, of course. And they're told that in a very roundabout way, they're going to have to make an appointment. And it's, I guess, if you're not Australian, it's a very hard accent to hear because it's a very thick Australian accent that the actor is saying all these lines in. But I kind of got the gist of it. And they go, well, we're the Americans and we're here to see him. We need to see him now. And they go in and talk to him and start saying, hey, we need all this information on this guy who's killed all these people. We didn't know about this. We need to know all the credit card statements, things like that. And they're like, well, we'd love to help you, but it's over with. He's dead. And they're like, what do you mean he's dead? Like, we've got the killer downstairs, and the killer happens to be Eugene. So Tulip is questioning Eugene about where he is because they haven't found a body, of course, just a lot of blood, and that Eugene had, powder residue on his hands, and Eugene confessed to it as well. And they're asking him where, Tulip's asking, where is he, Eugene? Where is he? And Eugene isn't answering. And we see Jesse is out in the outback with the Saint of Killers, and the Saint of Killers is pulling the bullet out of Jesse's chest and then cauterizing it with his heated up knife that he's got going on there. So, yeah, they just left Eugene there, Penn. They did not get him out. It was kind of a weird, again, they're rushing through stuff because, again, they haven't planned this shit out and they were spinning their wheels on other parts of the story when they could have actually been, focusing on this. And yes, Eugene cannot catch a break at all. He really can't. So Jesse gets woken up by the Saint of Killers. It tells them that, they're burning daylight and tells him he needs to move. And Jesse's like, well, I want to sleep in. And the Saint of Killers kicks him. And Jesse tries using the voice on him. It doesn't work. He goes, well, had to try. And he asks them where they're going to go. And the Saint says, we're going to go kill God, is what he says. So Jesus and Hitler, in the meantime, are arguing over which souls are going to heaven and which are going to hell in the apocalypse. And Jesus says, well, if they repent at the last second, of course they're going to heaven. And Hitler's like, well, if that's the case, I'm taking all the homosexuals back. And then Jesus is like, nope, sorry, not going to do this. Apocalypse is canceled. And that's when Hairstar goes, nope, too late. We've already set phase 2 into motion. So shit's happening. It's going to happen. You guys are going to have to work this shit out at this point. We've already lit the spark, as he says. So Jesse is talking to the Saint as they're walking. And, first of all, he wants water. And, of course, the Saint doesn't need to drink or anything like that. And he asks him, he goes, do you really think you can kill God? And the Saint says, you know what? I've got the 44 Walker, the most powerful handgun ever made, and can shoot straight through a planet. If it could shoot through a planet, it can kill God, is what he says. And, Jesse tells the Saint that he's not going anywhere with him at this point. And he basically tells him to eat shit. And the Saint points his guns at him, and Jesse's like, yeah, whatever. You're going to shoot me? Shoot me. And Jesse relays the story about, God taking his family from him as well. And when he was in Dallas, and basically a little girl and, his wife and all this kind of stuff. And he's pissed at God, of course, for all of this and just wants to know why. And the Saint says, he goes, I know one way of making you go. And he starts walking towards a house. And Jesse starts following after him. He's like, no, we don't need to do this. And the Saint just keeps walking towards the house. In the meantime, Tulip and Cassidy show up at that same house a little bit later on, and we see a whole family just hanging from the rafters in the kitchen. All we just see is their feet, luckily. And they realize they just missed Jesse and the Saint. And they get out and they start roaring down the road, and they're just peeling down the street, and they come to a literal dead end. And that dead end is where the outback begins. So they can't go any further by car at this point. Yeah. So the radio, in the meantime, we see these two guys on the outskirts. Basically, they're I think they're soldiers. Essentially, they didn't really say what it was. Out in Australia, and they're listening to the radio about the reports of hostilities escalating between New Zealand and Australia, especially with their navies. And one of the guys gets shot in the head by a black van that's pulling up, and it has the New Zealand label on the outside. And the last remaining guard goes out there with his gun, and he ends up, of course, not being able to do anything. And we see that they're hauling the nuclear bomb behind them. So yeah, and they're heading on their way to the Lost Apostle, which is a rock outcropping. So Jesse tries grabbing the Saint's guns at one point, and they don't work for him. And so Jesse tells the Saint, I'm not going to let you kill God. There's no way. I'm going to do it. And then he gives the guns back to him, of course, and they keep walking. So Tulip and Cassidy, in the meantime, are looking at a map, trying to figure out what roads there are to follow Jesse. And of course, there's a very few roads out in the outback. And Cass says that maybe there was something in Jesse's letter that will tell him where he was going. And she finally comes in a roundabout way, telling Cass that she hasn't read it yet. So Cass says, give it to me. I'm going to skim it, see if there's anything, and see if there's any clues. And as he's looking at it, he's got this very stern face as he's reading it, and Tulip can't read what the hell he's saying, what he's reading. And he folds it back up and hands it back to her and says, there was nothing in it. There's nothing in it that can help, is what he says. So she gets up to go and go outside and smoke, or grab some smokes, as she says. And then she hears some jazz music coming from an RV parked out in the distance there, and heads over towards it and sees the door is open a little bit, and she heads on in. Yeah. So Cass is sitting there as he's looking at the RV, and the waitress comes by and asks if, he wants a refill of his cuppa. And he's like, no. And she starts filling it anyway. He's like, Jesus. He goes, all I've had is cuppas while I was here. He goes, what I really want is, he goes, I want some drugs. Do you have any crack? Do you have any Molly? I'll even take some paint thinner or some Discagger, as he puts it, and anything you got. He goes, how about that? And he looks at it, at her name, it's Sheila. And she goes, well, there's some fire retardant out back, I think. And that's when Cass kind of perks up. He's like, all right, that sounds pretty good. Yeah. So Tulip ends up finding the dog suit inside the RV that God wears, and she realizes it's all God's RV, and that he's got all his miniatures out there and everything. And she sees a miniature of Jesse, and then she sees a postcard of the Lost Apostle, and she starts yelling for Cass as she leaves. And we see that God is hiding in one of the closets there in the RV. He set this up all along so that Tulip will go out there. So Tulip and Cass will go and find Jesse. And Cass is high right now on flame retardant. He's been snorting it. And she tells Cass where they're going and where Jesse's ended up to, and that he's going to kill God. Hairstar, in the meantime, gets a phone call. I guess negotiations have been tense right now. And Jesus and Hitler are just kind of staring at each other. And Hairstar gets a phone call, and he's like, I'm off to Australia. I'll be back soon. And he takes off. So Jesse is tired of walking and tells the Saint that this shit is getting boring. And at this point, that's when I go, yeah, this entire season's been getting really fucking boring. That was the first thing I thought of when Jesse said this shit's getting boring. And I'm like, yeah, that's what everyone's thinking right now, is that you need to move this shit along a little faster than what you're doing, because it's really boring for all of us. And we see that Tulip and Cassidy are flying overhead. And Jesse's telling the Saint that he's going to be mad at him. And he goes, and the Saint says, I'm already mad at you. He goes, no, you're going to be a lot more mad at me. And he goes, but without me, God gets away with it, is what he says. And just then Tulip hits the Saint with the flame retardant. They land the plane, and he runs towards the plane, jumps in, they take back off again. And as the fire retardant clears, we end up, the Saint of Killers gets his guns out, aims, but of course can't see anything, and just yells out. That's pretty much all they got. So Jesse's on board the plane, and he asks Cass, how is he doing? And of course they can't hear because he's got the earmuffs on. And then he asks Tulip how she's doing, and of course she's not answering at all. And that's when Jesse's like, she's still pissed at me, isn't she? And Cass is like, yeah. He goes, did she read the letter? He's like, no, and he goes, well, she's got to read the letter. It's got everything in there. And Jesse says, you know what? I need to make a stop. And they're like, yeah, we know where you need to go. That's where we're heading next. So we see the two Masada agents posing as New Zealanders. They're unloading, of course, the nuke when a hiker shows up, an Australian hiker, and he's like, so what are you blokes doing? And they tell him what they're doing. And they said, oh, we're New Zealanders. And he goes, no, you're not. He goes, I know New Zealanders, and you don't have the Kiwi accent and all that stuff. And they finally just end up shooting him in the head. So, yeah. In the meantime, Hairstar and God are there. And Hairstar is there because he really wants to carve a vagina into Jesse's head, of course. And as Jesse, God actually asked Hairstar again how Humperdew is doing. And he lies again. And then he goes, wait, I lost Humperdew. And God just kind of stands there because he knows. He goes, it wasn't my fault. It was Jesse. Jesse released him. We've been trying to find him. We're looking for him right now. And then you hear a bark in the distance, and Hairstar's like, what the hell's that? And God says the genus name, the scientific name for the dingo. And the dingo is running straight at them. And he goes, yeah, it's a really hardy species. He goes, usually when it attacks, it goes for the esophagus of its enemy. Unless the enemy is too big, then it goes for the genitals. And we see the dingo just goes straight for Hairstar's genitals and starts going for his balls, and it's just ripping at him. Yeah, that was pretty damn funny. The dingo was damn funny. Because Hairstar was also talking about his looks to God, that he wants his God, his looks back, because that's what he was known for and everything. And yeah, it's and then God uses the God voice and tells him never to betray him again. So just then, the plane is nearing the Lost Apostle, and God sets off the nuke, and because they see God down below, and they're like, holy shit, turn around. So they turn around as God ignites the nuke, and they're outrunning the blast, but they kind of get caught up into it, get thrown a little bit, and so much so that Jesse gets thrown out the open door. And he gets caught by Cass, but of course it's daylight, so Cass's arm is burning, and he's trying to drag Jesse in, and Jesse's like, let me go. Just tell Tulip to read the letter and let me go. And Cass is like, no, I can do it. I can bring you in. He goes, no, just let me go. And finally he has to use the voice and says, let me go. And he does, and falls to his death like we saw in the very beginning of the season. So we're all the way back where we started at the beginning of the season, with Jesse falling to his death from the plane. And that's where we end off this episode. Yeah. Quite honestly, we need to move this along a little bit faster is really what they need to do. So yeah. Again, they're not ending this season very well. And they're spinning their wheels. Everything I said last episode. I've read all of it, Sasha, while I was reading. Like I said, I multitask. So, and now I'm not into green skin. So just so you know, there you go. Yeah, the dingo was pretty damn funny, I have to admit. But yeah, I don't know, man. This show, How's the Silent Dog? She's doing fine. She's actually out cold over there. I ruined the show for myself by reading the comics. Yeah, Niari, the comics are better. Of course, the source material is always going to be better than. It's very rare that the show is going to surpass the source material, unless it's Legion, and then of course the source material is like, holy shit, that's okay, but the show is so much better. Yeah. No chicken sandwiches in this episode. No, there were no chicken sandwiches in this episode, Joe. But we were talking about chicken sandwiches earlier. That's all it was. So, all right, back to the show. Yeah. Next week's episode looks good. I saw the preview for it, and who knows if there's going to still be spinning their wheels or what the hell's going to happen. Because now we're supposed to be going full blown into the apocalypse, right? Because they're starting the war between New Zealand and Australia. Is that right? Yeah, I agree with you, Niari. Where do you end? How do you end this shit at this point? Because it's 10 episodes. They are in episode 6 right now, so you have 4 episodes left. And with the way the comics kind of ended things, I mean, they do end things, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know how they're going to do it. Who knows? Who knows how they're going to do this? But everyone's gone off to their own separate shows after this. I know that. I know Dominic Cooper's got his own show that's and it's not like sci-fi related or anything like that. It's something serious, actually. I think it's a drama or something like that. Ruth Nega's got movies and stuff that she's doing, and I don't know what Joseph Gilgun's doing at this point. But he's got probably a whole bunch of shit that he can do as well. But like I said, not much to this episode. When are you doing the Dark Crystal? I'm doing that on Tuesday, Sasha. I'll put up the new schedule tonight. Yes, after I'm done here, I'll put up the new schedule. No, we will never get a Preacher prequel, David. Seth Rogen and Evan, his writing partner, who are producing all of this, they are done with this company. So all their projects that they were doing under their old manager, I guess you could say, under their old representation is now done. And they're like, The Boys is their first show that they've been doing with the new representation, if that makes any sense. So they ended everything else, and now they're starting all new stuff with other representation now. So, yeah. Like I said, I'll update the schedule tonight after I'm done here. I want to see Ruth in something else because she's good, but I can't stand Tulip in the show. Yeah, Ruth Negga is actually a really good actress. I've seen her in other stuff, and she is really, really good. It's kind of funny. Her and Dominic Cooper were in a really bad movie. It was like a fantasy movie, and I can't remember what it is, where he plays a king and she is something else. It's like early on in their careers, and I want to say it was like about 15 years ago. And it's just a horrible, horrible movie. But yeah, they were both in it, and it was kind of fun. I didn't know they were married, at the time. So they've been married, I guess, for like 5 years now. They're divorced. They got divorced during the show, which really sucks for all of that too. So yeah. Yeah, I'd see a Preacher prequel, at least the first season. Yeah, if if they go back to Jesse's gangster days, I guess you could say, with him and Tulip, I could see that. Yeah, but it's not going to happen, and it's still not. It's not going to happen at AMC. That's for sure. AMC's pretty chintzy with their money if you don't have Dead in the title, like Walking Dead or Talking Dead or Fear the Dead, or the Dead thing has been going on way too long, or anything like that. Yeah. Showing this. Did you ever review Sabrina the new series? That would have been good for Halloween. I didn't, Joe. You know what? I like the series. I actually haven't finished season 2. I'm still in the middle of season 2. I know that's up there. And I need to finish that off at some point in time. I like it, but not enough, I don't think, to review it, to tell you the truth. It's one of those guilty it's CW-esque for me. Yeah. I'm happy we got the Preacher we did. It's still pretty amazing. We got it. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they actually did it, to tell you the truth, Penn. And it opened up a lot of doors. I mean, we wouldn't have gotten Happy without it, quite honestly, because Happy came right after Preacher. We definitely would have gotten the boys without this, because those were all testing grounds of what Seth and company can do. And those were all kind of like, hey, this is about as far as we can push the envelope on, regular TV, on cable TV. Here's what we can do now on like Amazon, you know. Yeah. Yeah, it totally opened up doors, Penn. Yeah, I'm not gonna go back and do Sabrina. I'm sorry, guys. No, it's too far gone at this point. I honestly don't know if they're coming back for a season 3, to tell you the truth. For Sabrina, I don't know how the um how many people actually watched it. I know, Sasha. I know you won't be ignored. I've tried many, 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 many times, and you just keep showing up. The Talking Dead started it all, and hail Robert. Yeah, the Talking Dead was actually fairly interesting. I have to admit, I actually went to a taping of the Talking Dead back in season 4. I want to say it was like season 4 or season 5, something like that, and that was a lot of fun, quite honestly. Driving up to LA, sitting there with a bunch of people. So normally we'd watch it. They said you would watch it in the theater, but the theater at the time was being taken over by The Price is Right because something else was going on in their normal space. So we ended up getting literally put in a hallway with a screen and shown the episode beforehand, and then shuffled off to the studio to go and see. It's a very, very small studio. Very small studio. Yeah. And it was fun. I actually got to sit in the very front row because I asked a question. They liked it. I was one of like 6 people that would be alternated between, you get to see how the sausage was made pretty much through that whole thing. And it was interesting. And we got gifts too. Was it gifts or gift? It was a gift. That's right. Yeah. I am not reviewing Supergirl either, Joe. I'm not doing any CW stuff. So the only CW thing I'm going to do is the Crisis, the crossover. That's going to be the only review I do. And it's probably going to be a one-off on that. Even I'm probably going to, because I know it's over 4 episodes. I take that back. It's probably going to be 2 episodes because 2 of the episodes fall in December, and then 2 of the episodes follow in January. That's what goes on. They have a week or 2 break in between the 2, between the 4 episodes. So it's kind of like a part 1 and a part 2, if I remember correctly. Yeah. And I've got Mr. Robot. I got to sneak in there too. I've got that starts in October. I'm probably going to do Primal from Genndy Tartakovsky, which looks awesome. Harley Quinn. Yes, I'm going to do Harley Quinn as well, the animated one. And Titans, of course. That starts up on Friday. That's right. This Friday is Titans. So this week it's going to be, tomorrow I'm off because it's Labor Day. Tuesday is going to be the Dark Crystal. Wednesday is going to be Carnival Row. Depending on if it doesn't really suck that bad. I still haven't actually taken a look at it as of yet. Thursday is going to be the results of the boys contest. Yes. And Friday is going to be Titans. Saturday is Saturday Morning Blast Off. And of course, Sunday is Preacher. Any shows you recommend, Nyari? Right now, if you haven't watched Swamp Thing on DC Universe, go and watch it. That one's actually a lot of fun. On Netflix, a Russian Doll. If you haven't seen Russian Doll, they're actually gonna be doing season 2 and 3, and I believe that's supposed to be coming out in November, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not going to cover that one just because it's kind of a hard sell on that one, quite honestly. Yes, and Future Man. Future Man, exactly. Thank you, Pen Farm Girl. Future Man's going to have its last season on Hulu in January or February. I believe it's January. The Tick is good too. Yeah. I watched all of Russian Doll. Yes, I did, Sasha. I liked it a lot. Farscape. Thanks, Joe. What's a Farscape? Yeah, I've got everything. If you go and take a look at my my videos back there, I've got everything categorized by show. So you can go through all the different playlists that I've got going on there. And a lot of stuff has been canceled, unfortunately. Deadly Class was great the first season. Of course, that got canceled. You know, Krypton was okay. It wasn't great, but that got canceled. Yeah. All right. Thanks, Niari. I'm saying that right, Niari Williams? I don't want to murder your name. I murder so many people's names now. It's ridiculous. You should always use your power for good. Yeah, I tried, David. That wasn't my fault on the Krypton one. That was a show. I didn't, I was like, okay, I'll watch it. Nairi. Okay, Nairi. Nairi. Okay, there we go. Thank you. That's easy. So cancel the Flash and Arrow. They're already being canceled. Arrow's already done, and Flash is going to be gone right behind it. The X-Men movies ruin themselves, man. Come on. Did you see that last, the Phoenix movie? I didn't. I don't think anyone else did either. That's the reason why that one crashed and burned. I think it only made like $20 million, something like that. Didn't even make its money back. And from what I understand, the New Mutants one is just as bad. Disney's trying to find a way to patchwork it. Yeah. Not my fault, Joe. Yeah, First Class should promise, then Boom, then Logan, and right back to Boom. Yeah. Apple Crow, that was because it was Matthew Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn, if he had been left to steer the X-Men instead of Bryan Singer, you would have had a totally different outcome with the X-Men. We should have done that hiring Game of Thrones. Oh, you should have been doing that during Game of Thrones. Is that what you're saying, Sasha? So I can actually say stuff right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Glam with Ann. Hey, are you in Canada? I am not Glam with Ann. I am in the United States. I'm actually closer to Mexico than I am to the United States right now. I take that back. I'm in the United States, but yes. But I am close to Mexico. I really want to see New Mutants. Oh man, you're a glutton for punishment, man. Yeah. The Gifted. Don't even. Oh God, no. The Gifted was horrible. The Gifted was super, super bad. So that show alone, I'm pretty sure they mixed in old footage from Knight Rider from the 80s because that's what it looked like. And especially some of the stock footage and stuff like that, it looked like it was mixed in from the 80s. It was very bad, and the acting was horrible too. Yeah, there was a lot of bad stuff that was on TV. Speaking of bad stuff, I found on DC Universe. I didn't even know this had been made, but Sam Jones, from the Flash Gordon from the 1980 Flash Gordon, had been signed on to make a TV pilot for The Spirit. Will Eisner's The Spirit, and he was paired with Nana Visitor from Deep Space Nine, and so they have one episode up on DC Universe, and it's horrible. I mean, it's a horrible show. It's just bad pun after bad pun, and he spends most of the time passed out because somebody's hit him in the jaw, like, and he's out. He spends a lot of time unconscious. But I can see why it did get made into a TV show. It was just that bad. He has a kid sidekick, and he lives in a mausoleum in the cemetery. And the cemetery looks like one of those Disney cemeteries, where it's all spooky and stuff, not like a real cemetery. So yeah, it's really, really messed up. Did you hear about Netflix making a Sandman show? Yes, I did. And I'll believe it when I see it. Yeah. There's a lot of shows that get talked about being made, and it's only when they're in production. That's the only time I'll believe it, when when they're actually in production, when they've hired on a cast, hired a director, hired a showrunner, all that stuff, and they actually have sets built and they are filming. They are actively filming stuff. That's the only time I'll actually believe that this show is coming out. Until then, it's all rumor and conjecture, because that's the way Hollywood is, quite honestly. Yeah, that Young Blood movie's been bounced around since the 90s on that one, David. That's not going to happen. As much as they want it to happen, it's not going to happen. Like, I don't think McFarlane's the Spawn movie is ever going to happen. He's still talking about trying to get money together for it. I want a good Jonah Hex movie, is what I want. Legends of Tomorrow, they brought in Jonah Hex, and it was actually a fairly good Jonah Hex. I would like to see Jonah Hex on Legends of Tomorrow, because that's one of my favorite characters. No, not Seth MacFarlane. Todd McFarlane, the guy who actually created Spawn in the comics. Yeah, thanks, Applecrow. You know who I was talking about. He's trying to pull together. I think he wants to make it for like $2 million or something really ridiculous. And I'm like, yeah, it's not going to happen. He's hired on. Supposedly Jamie Foxx is supposed to be in the lead. Yeah, Jonah Hex in the comics has gone to the future, has time traveled, all that stuff. There is precedent for it in the comics. You can do it easily in the TV show. Yeah. No one knows, Joe. I mean, it's there's this whole nostalgia kick of people that want to redo shit that's been done, the last 30, 40 years. I mean, why are we having sequels to Ghostbusters? Why are we having another Terminator sequel? Stop already. Just do new stuff. There is so much stuff out there. Like I've said before, there are books like behind me here that can be used to, yes, I realize it's safe. You realize there's a built-in audience. You will not find another hit unless you go through and actually try and bring something else to life. And don't try and shoehorn your other shit into it. Yeah. That's what happens when you try and shoehorn a gigantic spider that you've been wanting since a Superman movie, and you shoehorn it into a Wild Wild West hip hop movie. Yeah, don't get me started on that one either. I say watch more than FF movies, more Elektra movies. No, God, Elektra was horrible. LC3566, Another Life was one of those worst shows I've ever seen. It stank like dirty ass. Yeah, I got through the first episode of that LC and I stopped. It was bad. That was like Sci-Fi Channel bad. Sci-Fi Channel movie bad. Yeah. Yeah, that Terminator movie is gonna suck balls. It really is. And yes, Joe, I agree with you. Cocaine is one hell of a drug. That is what the movie studio executives are butt chugging by the truckload. I wouldn't be surprised if they just had gigantic dumpster trucks that are sitting outside in the studio lot, and they just have hoses that are being pumped right into the executive offices that are jammed up their ass. Yeah. Wild Wild West, how Will Smith stopped owning July 4th weekend. Well, wasn't just that. It was also that really shitty one that he did with his son about Earth, the future Earth, and what I can't remember. It was so bad I forgot what the title of the movie was. Yeah, Will Smith had a whole bunch of stinkers there in a row, and that's how he stopped doing it. Yeah. After Earth was brilliant. Oh my God. That was a horrible movie. Jaden Smith, that kid, he is messed up. So messed up. I just don't understand it, David. I just don't get it. It didn't speak to me. No, the new Karate Kid was horrible too. Jackie Chan should be ashamed of himself. I'm sorry. He really should. Yeah. But I could go on and on and on, but I'm not going to because it's getting late and the sun's setting there, big guy. And yes, I'm going to be covering Watchmen on HBO, unless it sucks bad. I mean, again, I give my 4-episode rule. For those of you who don't know, I do have a 4-episode rule. If the show sucks 4 episodes in a row, and I mean, just bad to the point where I'm just going to be bagging on the episode every single time I'm watching it, I'll stop because I'm not going to hate watch it. It's not good for you guys. It's not good for me. And I just end up stopping at that point. Sometimes I even stop a little earlier than the 4th episode because it's that bad. Take a look at The Passage. The Passage, I couldn't even get past the 3rd episode. I just said, yeah, fuck it. I'm done. And I cut and run on that one, which was good because that got canceled. That was an episode. That was something where I used my powers for good, I guess you could say, on that one, because no one wanted to see that piece of shit. Yes, there have been at least 2. I can't remember what the other one was, Pen. Oh yes, Nosferatu. Nosferatu was horrible. I tried to block that one out. Yeah, I made that through the 1st episode, and I'm like, damn, that was just bad. That was a bad episode. I couldn't find anything redeeming out of it at all. I know people that like the show, and that's fine. I mean, you guys have the books that people like, and the books get shitty renditions of them done. It happens to a lot of books, quite honestly. So, yeah. The moon is out in the East Coast. There's a sliver of moon here. Yes. But yeah. So I'm going to start wrapping things up here. Thank you, everybody who joined me tonight in the chat. And thank you if you made it this far into the video. And if you have, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Like, subscribe, and share. Also, if you're still on the fence about joining up, you're going to see a video pop up here at the end of this video. And basically what it's going to do is YouTube will take your algorithm of everything you've watched, and we'll use that algorithm to pluck one video out of my video library to pop up there just for you. If you like it, hit the subscribe button. Also up here is going to be Saturday Morning Blast Off, the last Saturday Morning Blast Off that I did, which is a lot of fun. So also, you can find me on suspendedfanimation.com. You can see the schedule up there. Like I said, the schedule is going to change tonight. It's also going to be up on my Facebook page. I have a Twitter, I have an Instagram, and I also have a Patreon page, but I don't have any tiers set up as of yet. Yes. Yes, and that's pretty much everything that's going on. Just want to see where I'm at here. I'm trying to. There we go. All right. Yeah, like I said, it's late for you guys out on the East Coast. Thank you, Penn, for posting all of that. That's awesome. And yes, everything's there. So thank you, everybody. I will see you on Tuesday for the Dark Crystal. Until then, have a good Labor Day weekend. Hopefully you have the rest of your day, planned out, I should say, or your tomorrow planned out, because the rest of the day today is not going to be that much longer. So don't let the door hit your ass on the way out. Otherwise, God may have other plans for you and may set off a nuke to deter you from making those plans. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.